Hey guys, it's Steve from Featherlight, and today we're going to learn how to do a completely professional podcast or live stream with nothing but a mixer and an iPhone. Let's check it out. All right, so audio interfaces for iOS devices have been around for a long time, and back in the day when we could plug directly into the headphone jack, we had a lot of hardware options available to us. Fast forward till today, and all those options are now built around the Lightning port or the brand new USB-C connectors in the newer iPads and iPhones. So that means you're going to be looking at dedicated USB-based recorders for your iOS devices. However, there's a couple of really good reasons why you might want to use a USB-based mixer instead for your live podcasts and your live streams. Let's dive in and find out a little bit more as to why. Running any audio interface directly into an iOS device requires that the device be what's known as bus powered, which means it gets 100% of its power from the phone or the iPad itself, and that's going to run your battery down incredibly fast. If your audio interface has more advanced features like 48-volt phantom power, or if your audio interface is not bus powered at all, you're likely to get this notification. This is your iOS device notifying you that it can't provide enough power to make your audio interface work at all. This is where running a USB-powered hub really pays off in dividends. By using a USB 3 or USB 3 to USB-C style hub, this allows us to run a much wider variety of audio interfaces in addition to running power banks and things that can extend our working setup. However, if you don't own the newest iOS devices that are based around USB-C, and your audio interface, in this case our mixer, doesn't offer a USB-C connection, we're going to need a few more things to make this work. So we'll need our phone. In this case, ours is an older one based off the Lightning connector. First up, we're going to be using a USB 3 style hub. This one is powered, although we don't require it because the mixer we're using has its own power. But it does open the door for lots of other peripherals to add on later. If you're using a newer iOS device, you can simply use a USB 3 to USB-C style hub instead and skip the next step. Next up, we'll need the camera connection kit adapter from Apple. It comes in two forms, the older one that's used here in this demonstration or the newer one shown here. They both work, but the difference with the newer, more expensive version is it allows you to charge your device while you're using your recording device. This is important if you plan on doing longer podcasts and longer live streams. And finally, we'll need a regular USB cable to plug into our recording device. In this case, is a mixer from Soundcraft. All right, so we've already done a complete and in-depth review on this amazing little mixer. It's the Notepad series from Soundcraft. So check that out in the links below and then come back and check this out. So what's the advantage of using a real mixer that has USB capabilities versus something like a bus-powered device like the Focusrite Scarlett series, or its newer and much more expensive sibling, the new Claret series? All of these interfaces offer very good quality preamps, 24-bit digital conversion, as well as enhanced portability and exceptional build quality. Each of these styles of audio interfaces are what are known as class compliant, which means on modern-day Macs and PCs, they don't require drivers to work in their default configurations. This applies to your iOS devices like your iPad and iPhone as well, which means when you plug this in via the camera connection kit, or USB-C on newer devices, it will simply see the device as an audio input and output choice. However, if you want to change that firmware configuration, meaning which channels your iOS device is going to detect, both devices come with control panel software that allow you to change that hardware configuration for whichever setup you need. While the Focusrite offers some features like high sample rate recording, and the ability to change that configuration in an iOS-based app, unlike the PC-only app on the Soundcraft only needs to make that change one time, and the reasons for using a mixer over an interface are many. When you're doing a podcast or a live stream, you need to make real-time changes on the fly. And in the bus-powered interface style, you'd be making those changes by stepping through pages of software or a control app. So let's set up our mixer step-by-step for a live streaming or podcasting setup, and see the difference it makes having a legitimate mixer surface to control those features in real time. Step 1, while our mixer is still connected to our laptop, is to open up the Soundcraft control panel, navigate to audio routing, and be sure to select mix left plus right so that everything out of the main mix will be recorded. This step only needs to be done one time, as this is the default configuration of the mixer itself. The firmware in the mixer will remember the changes we've made here once we disconnect. Step 2 is to make the connections between our mixer and our iPhone. We're going to start out with our camera connection kit like we talked about, and that's going to plug in to the Lightning port of our iPhone. If you're using a USB-C hub, you'll be plugging into the USB-C connector. Next, we're going to make the connection to our USB 3 hub. In this case, it's a powered hub, but we won't be using the power. And the other end is going to connect into our camera connection kit. From there, we plug the regular USB cable into our USB 3 hub. And then from there, we make the connection directly to the mixer itself. And that gives us our complete setup for a USB-based mixer attached to an iOS device, in this case, our iPhone. The third step is to make all the relevant microphone connections for our live stream session. In this case, we're recording an old piano that we have up against the studio wall. So we're going to place a microphone on the left side of it and a microphone on the right to get a nice stereo image. And thankfully, our mixer allows us to pan that to the left and the right in the stereo field. The fourth step is now to connect all of that live stream audio cabling from our microphones to our mixer. Since we have those two microphones to the left and the right of the piano, we're going to make those connections now and adjust their relative volumes. We can also set them in the stereo field to our taste to the left and the right, so we have a nice big spread for the stereo sound itself. We can also set the EQs relevant to the channel. One of the biggest advantages of having a live mixer surface available to you when you're live streaming or when you're podcasting is, in addition to being able to use the channel features, is also being able to use things like live effects. So if we wanted to trail a vocal off into delay, it's as simple as adding that feature in real time by grabbing the knob. If we wanted to add chorus, for example, to add some space to a vocal, check 1, 2, or maybe to chorus a guitar input. Or if we wanted to simply add a little bit of ambience for a lead vocalist, for example, check 1, 2, check 1, 2. All these features are available to us in real time without having to step through any kinds of menus or any kind of pages in a software or an iOS app. Next, we need to set up our lead vocalist microphone and put him in the stereo field with some effects. Check 1, 2, check test 1, 2, check 1, 2. So here we can set our level for our microphone. We've got the trim knob set because we're using a microphone preamp before we come in. So we're using the 1/4-inch mono input to our mixer. We can set our level on the fly. We can set our pan position anywhere in the stereo field that we need. Check 1, 2, 1, 2. And since we're recording out the mix left and right, we'll be able to hear those or anything that goes to the mix left and right. Check 1, 2. Check test 1, 2. And if we want to check our mix, we simply can use the photo app right here inside of our iPhone. So we'll go to the video app and then we'll click record, check 1, 2, and this will allow us to check our mix and what it's going to sound like during the live stream itself. So we get out of there, enable the sound, check our mix and what it's going to sound like during the live stream itself. And our iOS audio is coming back on channel 7 and 8 of this mixer. Or reverb settings or anything, that will give us an idea, a very real-world idea of what our mix is going to sound like. And the final step is to set up our phone to go live. There's lots of streaming platforms available right now, but for the time being, we're going to be setting up for Facebook Live. You might find it easier to start Facebook in portrait mode first, and then hit the live button, and then rotate your phone into landscape mode. If you missed this step, sometimes Facebook will turn your intended horizontal live stream sideways. From here, you can set up basic titles and a couple of borders and some other creative options, as well as setting your privacy settings. And all that's left is to initiate your live stream by hitting the big blue toolbar on the right-hand side. What the world needs now is love, 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 love. No, not just for some, but for everyone. What the world needs now is love, 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 love. No, not just for some, but for everyone. When you're ready to end your live streaming session, you simply hit the Finish button in the lower right-hand corner on the toolbar area, and Facebook notifies you that your session has ended. From here, it'll give you a couple of options as to posting, also in what quality you want to upload or save or delete your video. The setup and workflow for live podcasts is exactly the same step by step. The only difference is, instead of recording to video or a live streaming app, you're probably going to be recording to an audio app on your phone. In this case, you'll probably be using GarageBand. The only difference then is when you start up GarageBand, you'll simply have to select the audio inputs that you're using. If GarageBand is not part of your OS, you may be interested in an application called Ferrite. This is a free application that's available on the iOS App Store, and it's one of the most popular for recording and editing completely professional level podcasts. All right, so there's how to get professional quality recordings into your podcast and live streams with a mixer and your phone, even if you don't have a computer. Hey, if this was helpful in any way, please remember to hit the subscription and notification bells, and we'll catch you guys in the next video.